My name is Julie Keizer. Keizer is the last name, and Julie is the first name.
And what's your job?
I am the town manager in the town of Waldoboro, Lincoln County, Maine.
Very cool. Okay, so we're standing out here like a bunch of crazy people at this intersection. Tell me the story of this intersection. Why are we here?
So there were 4 dangerous intersections in Waldoboro when I got here in 2017. This intersection of Manktown and Union Road, or Route 235, was the most dangerous intersection of the 4. We had many fatalities, and when I say many, for a small town, it only takes a few for that to have a great impact on the community. And we had one that was particularly bad with a motorcycle involved. We had some poor visibility with trees. Obviously, there's a change in grade, which makes it hard. I was always told, roll both your windows down and listen. Don't look. Listen. I mean, you have to look, obviously, too, but you also want to listen. So when we had the opportunity with the Maine DOT to fix it, we thought it was a really great idea to partner and make their job as easy as possible. So when the idea of a 4-way stop came up, how can we help? And my director of public works, John Daigle, who's been here for 47 years and absolutely hates this intersection, said, well, I think what you really need to do is shave some of the hill off. And that just is so much money. It really is just so much money that it puts those types of projects out of reach for the average community. And the state can't afford to do that in every town. So when they came to us with this idea of the 4-way stop and blinking lights, it was fabulous. And we were so excited, to the point where after 47 years of dealing with this intersection, John said, what can I do? So we had an arborist on staff and called Dennis and said, hey, Dennis, we can take down these trees. And we took down a large portion of trees. And then they came in and put up 4-way stops. And now we all look like heroes because it works. Not only did it work here, it worked further down the road at Old Augusta Road and Route 220. And that was our second most dangerous intersection. And at first, people get a little, the locals, that's not gonna work. That's something from away. But it worked perfectly. And now people love them. Absolutely love them.
So what was the condition before? Like, there was a stop sign here? Like, what was going on here?
So right here was you stopped going, I'm going to say
that way.
South.
Just like that
I'm going to say south. So you would stop just like this van is stopping, but I don't know if you can see the truck.
Go ahead and stand right there. Yeah, stand because
okay.
Otherwise, yeah, there you go.
This truck coming at us would not have stopped. So it was only a 2-way stop over a busy road. And what's happening here is there's an incline and then there's a hill here. So you really couldn't see. When you pulled out, you're looking both ways, but sometimes they hid in the hill. And then they'd pop up and they'd be there and you'd be like, oh my God, there's a car coming. And in all honesty, I almost got it once here because even though I had my windows rolled down, it was an electric car and they don't make a sound. And I almost got hit here.
And they're moving on this road without a stop sign, I imagine going well faster than 50 miles an hour.
So that's one of the problems we have in Maine. People speed terribly. And I think it's all over. But to me, it just seems like in the last 10 years, speeding has gotten worse and worse and worse. So although it's posted at a certain rate, you can count on about 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. And we live in a very rural area, and people like their loud music and their jacked up trucks, and they might drive a smidgen over the speed limit.
And so this stop sign helps with all of that because it stops them, but it also lets these people have a chance to breathe.
It lets them breathe, it lets them see, but it actually has helped the speeding in this general vicinity. Now I'm getting requests for all the people on Facebook, because there's Facebook warriors, and I'm sure you see them all over the place. I have some especially amazing Facebook warriors. I did not realize they all went to traffic school to be engineers.
Civil engineers. Yeah.
Totally did not understand that, but they educated me on it. Even those hardcore people who thought they knew better, now they're like, oh, we should do this at every intersection, to the point where our remaining dangerous intersection that we're working with the Maine DOT on, there's an actual incline, and in the winter, I think it's a 13% grade, 10% grade. You obviously can't stop a big truck in the winter on a 10% grade, and we can't build a shelf for it to sit on. So we're working with them, and everybody wants a four-way stop there. And so it's really caught on in our town, and we are so blessed and thankful that the DOT worked with us. And I just love that spirit of cooperation. And you know, I've been doing this for, I'm in my 38th year in municipal government. And I started out in New Jersey as a town manager, and I came to Maine. And one of the big things I notice is in New Jersey, all the federal money that the state gets goes to the big cities. So I was the town manager in very rural communities. And we had situations just like this that could have been solved by this very thing. But we'd never see the money because we're too small. And if you're not getting the volume, it's hard, but our severity, I would argue, was worse. And it's just different how Maine does it than how New Jersey does it. And I'm asked that a lot, is what are the differences? I think this is one of the most wonderful differences between New Jersey and Maine, is that I can call up anybody at the MDOT and they actually answer the phone. I call them my 3Ds. There's Dave, Dennis, and Daryl. And I can call them up and say, hey, we've got this issue, and they're responsive. And I think part of the reason they're so responsive is that they have the backing of the federal government to say, hey, you know, we can use these funds to help you solve this problem.
So defining this problem, because they do, they say, yeah, we'll help you solve that problem, but people like Dennis and Jeff have to justify that. They can't say, trust us, we need help over here. They have to quantify that somehow. Mm-hmm. So some of the very innovative stuff they're doing is they've actually figured out a process, and I've seen they have this big spreadsheet.
They do.
That if you can put in a spot, it will weight the severity of your crashes against the number of lesser severe crashes and weight them, so this actually ranks and merits spending.
It does, and I'll tell you what was really great is they actually came down with all their bells and whistles and numbers. And Jeff, I think we may have called him a geeky numbers guy.
He brought a bag of money.
But when he explained the numbers to us, it made sense to even me, who is not spatially or statistically gifted at all. So if it made sense to me and he was able to make it make sense to me and convince our 47-year public works director that it could be accomplished by stop signs, that was a feat in itself. So the data that they collect when they do the survey, and then when you actually see it brought to life with all the turning components, because you'll see how many times somebody turns left or somebody turns right, and also the speeds at which they're going. We're also blessed, we're unique here in Waldoboro because we have full-time EMS and full-time police. So sometimes you don't have that in Maine because it's very rural. But we're able to give pretty good crash data to the MDOT when it comes to the crashes.
You are blessed to do that. We do this all over the country. So I was in Denver recently, and we were looking at maps of Utah and western Colorado, looking at just mapping where are the EMS, because if somebody does get in a severe crash, you want them treated within an hour. And some of the level 1 trauma, there are no full-time EMS. Everybody's a volunteer out there, and it was something like 5 hours to the nearest trauma Like
Well,
you're done if you're out. You know, but
we
here-
were, yeah,
yeah.
we are very blessed. It used to be that way. It was very volunteer based up until about 10 years ago, and that changed. But one of the other things in working with some of these other intersections is we've involved our director of EMS, so he can actually speak to the severity of some of the injuries and to some of the crashes, along with our chief of police.
So how's it feel as a town manager to how you sleep at night a little bit better, knowing this thing is better?
So I'm going to tell you two stories about that. When I first got here, a gentleman lived on 220, which is where the old Augusta Road intersection is. He came to me on my first day of work and said, we need to do something about this. And it felt great. It was one of those things that I was tasked with as the town manager by my select board to say, you need to work with the state to fix these. So it's something we could cross off the list. On a personal note, my daughter and her 3 children, ages 7, 4, and 2 years old, moved on to Old Augusta Road. And every day she travels that, and she would go through that intersection. And I feel better as a grandma and a mother knowing that I believe truly in my heart that, my children and my grandchildren are safer because the 4-way stop is there.
That's a good way to finish that.
One more question, Julie. It may be important.
Apologize for hitting the mic.
Do you want me to take
Can we
that?
redo that thought?
Do you want me to
Redo that
redo it?
thought again.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
No,
what I
it's
was
fine.
like.
You weren't hearing anything, but she kind of stopped and looked
Yeah,
at the camera.
but that is
Okay.
a lovely,
That was a really nice
lovely
soundbite.
thing. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I would love to do that again.
Yes.
I can do it again.
Yeah.
Not a
Talk
problem.
about your grandbabies. No big.
Talk about my grandbabies. I can
Yeah.
do that all day. So, on a personal note, one of the most important things to me is my daughter and her family, a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, moved into Old Augusta Road. And at that intersection of Old Augusta and 220, that's an intersection they cross every day. Not only with my daughter, but on their school bus. And I can tell you, I sleep much better knowing that they're safer and everybody else is safer. And it just takes that little bit of worry off. Not that you still don't have to be careful, but I'm just happy that it's fixed and everybody's a little bit safer, because you don't think it matters. Well, it's just one intersection. But when people have been hurt there, it matters a lot. And another story that we had, a woman who did lose somebody there wrote us a little note on Facebook to let us know that she is happy that no other family would have to go through that tragedy. And that meant a lot to us too. So it makes me feel good all the way around.
Excellent.